Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another Battle to the Death for you. Today, we have the very new Tactile Knife Company Rockwall versus the fairly new Quiet Carry Waypoint. Very excited to do this little Battle to the Death. I'd really been planning on it for a long time as soon as I saw pictures of the Rockwall, because let's face it, these do look fairly similar. Not to say anybody copied anybody, nothing like that, but they are fairly similar looking knives. I did realize the Rockwall is a little bit smaller, so I thought maybe they wouldn't be that comparable, but once I got them in hand, no, they're I could definitely see people debating between these two. They're both titanium liner locks, which is cool, something that you don't see that often, but you're seeing more and more lately, and I kind of like them that way, honestly. I'm getting to be kind of a liner lock guy, I guess, so yeah, I like that a lot. Both extremely similar in price, $299 versus $295. Both somewhat limited availability, which we'll talk more about at the end when we get to the value section. Yeah, both just kind of classy looking knives. So yeah, a lot of reason to compare these two together. So how do we do these? Same as always, 7 categories: design and aesthetics, quality, blade, ergonomics, carry, deployment, and value. And then everybody gets a point for each one that you win. You tally them up at the end, and we pick a winner. But before we go into, let's talk about each knife individually. We'll start out with the new one, the Tactile Knife Company Rockwall. I've done an unboxing of this. I haven't done a full review of it, but comes from the Tactile Turn company that makes amazing pens. I love their pens very much. This is their first effort at making a knife, and gotta say, pretty darn good one. If you go back and watch that unboxing video, I was pretty impressed. Just really well done. It has the same kind of cool milling that they put on their pens. Tactile they take that seriously. It does have a very nice feel to it. We'll talk more about that. This one is 20 CV. They're usually XHP. They did clarify to me. They sent me a message and said they did a few in 20 CV, but XHP is still the steel they plan on using in these going forward. They didn't change. It's just XHP is kind of hard to get. That's part of the reason why Cold Steel stopped using it, because it's actually a tool steel, and a lot of tooling companies use it all up. So it's pretty hard for knife companies to get their hands on. So they went to 20 CV for this one. It would not have affected the outcome either way. I like 20 CV. I like XHP. I think either of them are fine for the price. It is extremely well made, 100% made in the United States of America. Very cool looking pocket clip. Definitely looks awesome. We'll talk more about that. Let's do some specs on this one. So you have a blade length of 3 inches, overall length of 7.1 inches, blade thickness very thin. Both of these are very thin, 0.10 inches, handle thickness 0.42 inches, and a weight of 2.57 ounces. Both of these are very light knives. So next up, let's talk about the Waypoint. Now, the Quiet Carry Waypoint, its big claim to fame is this is pretty much 100% corrosion proof, and I have tested it. I did put one of these in a salt bath. I did a little comparison between it and the Spyderco Spidey Chef. It's very stressful to dip one of your favorite knives in salt for several hours and let it air dry, which is like the worst thing you can do. But it's fine. As you can see, Vanex steel, it's formerly rare. I guess you're seeing a little bit more of it, but still Quiet Carry's, I think, probably the company that uses it the most. Again, a titanium liner lock. The liner is LC200N, so even that is completely corrosion resistant, which is awesome. Wire pocket clip on this one. And this one is right-hand, left-hand carry, whereas the Quiet Carry is just right-hand. It also now comes in a G10 version with the same steel and everything, just one side. It's just a G10 handle liner lock instead of this, which is cool. I have not checked one of those out yet. I may do that. Again, $295 for one of these. And it's a very just kind of classic look. Thumb stud deployment runs on phosphor bronze washers instead of the bearings like you have in the Quiet Carry. And it's got the usual, Quiet Carry design cue there with the 4 dots. But yeah, again, a very classy looking knife. Specs on this one, you're looking at a blade length of 3.3 inches, overall length of 7.5 inches, blade thickness a little bit thinner even than the Rockwall, 0.09 inches. And you have a handle thickness of 0.037 inches and a weight just a little bit heavier, 2.78 ounces. Makes sense. It's a little bit bigger knife. So let's get into our scoreable categories. Start doling out some points. Design and aesthetics. I think both of these are very simple, yet kind of classy looking knives. They definitely could slide into that gentleman's carry role if you need it to. And honestly, that's the way I've been using them, especially the Rockwall. I think that's definitely where it's going to sit in my collection. You know, it is a more of a gentleman's carry. But I have to give a slight win to the Tactile just because the Rockwall, just that milling is so cool. And the pocket clip just looks the boss. It has some other issues with it, but as far as looks wise go, they were talking about design and aesthetics. This is this is just, it just looks that little bit better. I still love the look of the Waypoint as well, but the Waypoint does look a bit more utilitarian. Maybe you prefer that. This is obviously the most subjective category because we're talking about how it looks. So yeah, got to give it an advantage to the Tactile turn there. So it's 1 point to the Rockwall. So quality wise, both are pretty well made. This is the Quiet Carry is made overseas, and they're not really particular about where. I have my guesses, but they're just guesses, so I'll keep those to myself. It is very, very well made. I've never had any issue with any Quiet Carries. Everything that they've made, everything they've sent me and I've reviewed has been great. So I don't really have any complaints at all. It does feel really well made, but there are little things that the Rockwall is just that much better. Again, that milling, it feels more expensive. The screw quality is fantastic, which for a new knife company is something they usually screw up. They usually outsource their screws and get something that's not quite right. It seems like the usual place people cut corners. They did not. The screw quality on this is fantastic. It just feels expensive. This feels like it's worth the $295. This feels like it's worth more than the $299 compared to, you know, a Chris Reeve or something like that. This feels as nicely made as those, just in your hand and just when you're holding it, and you know, things like that. The way they integrate the pocket clip, just lots of little stuff. Definitely quality wise. Again, this is fine. The Quiet Carry is fine, but this is just really, really nice. On the verge of almost special as far as its price to quality feel ratio. That kind of thing you can't quite define. You just got to get one in your hands and you're like, wow, this feels very expensive. Blade. So you got Van X versus, in this case, 20CV. Again, usually it's XHP. It wouldn't matter on the steel. I'm still going to give it to the Quiet Carry. You do have the Rockwall being a bit thinner behind the edge. This is about 16, 17 thousandths behind the edge, whereas this is like 20, 21 thousandths behind the edge. But it does have slightly thinner blade stock, and it's got this nice hollow grind. It slices very well. Van X steel, I find, holds an edge very, very well. Been quite impressed with the Van X, honestly. And it's 100% corrosion resistant, so you don't have to worry about what you're cutting into. You don't even make a thought about it. You want to open food packaging and get, you know, pork blood all over it or something. Whatever, fine. Rinse it off. It'll be all right. There's just nothing to worry about there. But it does seem just that little bit slicier with that hollow grind, and I really like that Van X steel. And it is an expensive steel for sure. Between 20CV and XHP or the price of Van X is a more expensive steel. But edge retention is still really good. That's what really matters. And yeah, I really like it. Very good sharpening choil and everything. It's easy to sharpen. I got to give the win on the blade to the Quiet Carry. As far as ergonomics go, I'm going to give it to the Quiet Carry, which is no surprise because it's larger. But that's not the only reason. Yes, all four fingers on this fit on here a little easier than they do on the Quiet Carry, although they do on the Quiet Carry on the Tactile. They all fit on the Tactile, all four fingers as well. But I think the main reason I'm giving it to it is I love this pocket clip. I love the way it looks. Let's just say that. I love the way this pocket clip looks. But because I'm going to have another complaint about it later. But you can feel it in the palm of your hand. Now, a couple reviewers have also had these and really complained about it as far as being a hot spot. For me, it's not bad at all on my hands. You can see it lands kind of in what I call, the crotch of my palm because I'm a classy individual. It isn't that bad at all. I still think the ergos are pretty good on this. I can feel the lock bar a little bit more than I can because it's got some jimping on there, whereas the is where the Waypoint does not. Yeah, it's good, but this is just better. This has excellent ergos for being such a slim handled knife. You do still feel pretty locked in. They have about the same amount of jimping, except for, again, the Rockwall has a little bit more right here. Yeah, ergos, gotta go. Gotta go with the Waypoint again on that. Now, as far as the carry goes, how do I want to do this? The Waypoint wins, but let me explain why. So we'll show the Waypoint first and show how nicely it carries, and then we'll talk more about the Rockwall. No flipper, wire pocket clip. I really like wire pocket clips. Some people seem to be almost religiously opposed to them. It is right hand, left hand carry, which is going to be nice for a lot of people. But the tension is great. It's still very well secured. There is no flipper tab, so your hand slides right by it. Yeah, it carries fantastically well. It honestly reminds me, if you have a Benchmade 940, this kind of carries like a 940. It's definitely what it reminds me of in my pocket. Now, the Rockwall is smaller and lighter. Very nice looking pocket clip, but to get it to work like this, I had to bend it out. And I did not have to do that on the Quiet Carry. So the tension was, not only was the tension high, it's that the ramp is like, so when it came, it was, all pushed down all the way. There's virtually no ramp there. So unless you're wearing like slacks, it's going to be very difficult to get out of your pocket. I mean, on normal jeans like this, it was okay, but I mostly wear 511 tactical jeans that have a reinforced pocket. There was no way I could get it out of my pocket. So I had to actually, bend the pocket clip back a little bit, which that's disappointing. It looks cool. They just need to put more ramp on it, and I don't think it would make that hotspot issue any worse if they did that. I would like to see them just maybe even make it just a little bit longer with a little bit more ramp. Like I'm talking like, a millimeter or two and ramp it up a little bit. I think that would greatly improve it. And you know what? This is a small company. They can react that fast. Maybe the next batch of them will be. Who knows? But yeah, as it sits, definitely the better one to carry. Nicer one to carry is the Quiet Carry. Huh? Why did it take me this long to get that very obvious joke? Deployment. Rockwall by million miles. The Quiet Carry is very nice, but it's on phosphor bronze washers. It's not on bearings. Great detent. Very snappy. If you have an Ontario Rat Model 1 or Model 2, it kind of reminds me of that, which you're thinking, Brian, you're comparing it to a $40 knife. Those things are awesome. So that's still high praise, trust me. I really do love the deployment on it. It's perfectly fine for what it is. It's not really like drop shutty or anything like that, but you have to shake the snot out of it to make it drop shut. But it's not meant to be. It's meant to be, corrosion resistant, all that stuff, hence the washers. This is truly impressive for not only being a very small knife with a very light blade. So keep in mind, there's not much, mass moving to make things drop shut. But this is their first knife, and they did this well with the action on it. It's just, this blade weighs nothing. It's 3 inches of 0.10 inch blade stock and makes a great noise. Detent is perfect. And I can assure you, I did not mess with this. And we'll explain why when I get to the value thing. The biggest flaw with this knife, in my opinion, if you are a tinkerer like me, did not tinker with the action on it. I'm not going to. But out of the box, just great. I've only had this thing for like a week, and it's broken in so nicely. Yeah, the action on it is just addictive. And this is their first knife, guys. They have a slip joint coming out. I'm on the list for that as well. So, final category, and we are tied right now, so this is the tiebreaker. Value. Now, some of you are going to say one's made in America, one's made overseas. You're going to say, oh, the American-made one. I'm not. I'm going to say the Quiet Carry. I understand if that matters a lot to you, fine. This is a great knife. Obviously, if you can do math, the Quiet Carry Waypoint is winning this battle to the death. But this is still a fantastic knife, and if you want to get it primarily because it's American made, an American made alternative, maybe even to this. Hey, you made a good choice. It's a great knife. But there are just some little things. I always try to put availability in here. I would penalize them both equally on that. At currently, this is what, the 17th of June 2021. What month are we in? June. Yeah, they're both not really available. There's a waiting list for these. I will say I got on it, and I was like number 600 and something. It took me about 2 months to get one. I think they're up to like 1,100 now. So I don't, and I just got it like a week ago. So I don't know. It's going to be probably 2, 3, but then they're ramping up production all the time. So I guess probably a couple months if you got on the list right now before you'd get one of these. Maybe 3. I may be off. Next batch of these is available in August. And the last batch was a couple months ago. So yeah, as far as availability goes, they're both equally difficult to get a hold of. They're not impossible, but you got to be a bit patient. So it's a wash there for sure. And again, I think this feels a little better made, but the Van X, I really like that you're getting that at this price point. It's a very unique, cool steel, and I've really been impressed with it. And I had to find somewhere to penalize something on this knife that really bothers me. And I'm putting it in the value section. I'm never going to disassemble this thing and truly clean it out unless I absolutely have to. And why is that? Does it come apart hard? Nope. It comes apart very easily. But it's got loose bearings. And I do not enjoy loose bearings. They're not caged. Normally you take a knife apart, they're in a little cage, and they all stay in one place. These are loose. They may go rolling everywhere. You may lose one. They're fairly good sized bearings. And again, they do achieve a very good action with that loose bearing system. But I've said before, I have 3 fears in this world. It's sharks, Brock Lesnar, and loose bearings. And I'm not dealing with it. So this will mostly get cleaned out with compressed air and dribbling some oil in there. I only take it apart unless I absolutely have to. And I don't like that. I don't like not having the option to easily be able to perform maintenance on my knife. It's just, I hate loose bearings, and I had to penalize it somewhere, and that's why I'm putting it in this value section, because I don't really know where else to put it. Because to me, that is a thing that I think of in value is, can I work on it? And it also doesn't have a captured pivot. You have to use 2 tools, so you're definitely going to lose bearings. I opened it enough to peek apart and look inside and verify that it was loose bearings, put it right back together. That's the last time I'll touch that pivot unless it comes loose. It's just, I'm not dealing with it. So yes, the winner is the Quiet Carry Waypoint. It is also a little bit bigger, so yeah, again, if you need something under 3 inches, you're going to pick this one, but that's obvious. I don't think I really need to say that. But if you can have a knife over 3 inches, for me, if I only had to have one, it's the Waypoint. That said, I don't have any intention on selling either of these. I kind of thought I probably would sell one of them, and maybe I will somewhere down the road, but right now I don't think so. I still like this more as kind of a gentlemanly sort of knife, and this is more, I use it around, when I know it's going to get wet or get, food stuff on it or whatever like that. So I have a place for both of them, but if you only had to have one, it'd probably be the Waypoint. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.